Hello everyone, welcome back. As you know that we are discussing the RBI Grade B Officers Examination Phase 2 questions related to this examination, and in the previous videos we have been already discussing the previous questions, and in the upcoming months we'll be discussing the ones that will be left. So in this video we'll be starting with question number 81. Do refer to the previous ones for the detailed discussion. So, according to question number 81, we have the term capitalization is used in relation to sole proprietorship, partnership, joint stock companies, cooperative societies, or none of this, which will be the correct answer. So, basically, an important method of assessing the market standing of joint stock companies is the market capitalization. Okay? So, accordingly, joint stock companies will be the correct answer. This is in relation to joint stock companies. Next, moving on to question number 82. Undercapitalization can be remedied by issue of bonus shares, redemption of preference shares, redemption of debentures, reduction of interest of debentures, or none of this, which will be the correct answer. See, basically, a company is undercapitalized when its actual capitalization, that is the total long-term resources, is lower than its proper capitalization as warranted by its earning capacity. Right. So such a company will earn considerably more than the prevailing rate on its outstanding securities. Right. So remedies of undercapitalization can be the possible corrections, how you can change from undercapitalization to an optimized capitalization rate. Firstly, by splitting up of shares, right? The effect of this measure will be more apparent than it will be in real, because of the overall rate of return in this case will remain the same, though the dividend per share will now be a smaller to a smaller amount. And then you have increase in par value of shares. This also you can do in the par value, which means neither in the premium or in the deficit. So this means the value of the assets under this scheme may be revised upwards, and the existing shareholders may be given new shares carrying higher par face value. In this way, the rate of earnings will decline through the small amount of dividend per share, and it may not be effective. As a further step, the company may offer the shareholders a share split up and increase in the par value. Also, you can issue bonus shares, right? The most widely used concept and effectively used remedy for undercapitalization is the conversion of reserves into shares, right? So this will be affected by both dividend per share and the overall rate of earnings. Rate of earnings will also be definitely increasing as per this, right? So under the capitalization, you can have these many remedies, but issue of bonus shares is the best way of remedying under capitalization situation. Moving on to question number 83. The scientific management is based upon which of the following assumptions? Application of the scientific methods of organizational problems leads to efficiency. The good worker is one who accepts orders but does not initiate action. Worker is most important than the work. Each worker is interested in maximizing his monetary rewards. Right? So a combination of correct codes are given. So you have to choose among them. Now see, scientific management. Basically, scientific management has been thought of broadly as the application of the scientific method of study, analysis, and problem solving to the organizational problems, right? So scientific management, there are a few assumptions to it. First, I'll come to these assumptions. So firstly, it is improved practice will come from the application of the scientific methods of analysis to the organizational problems. Next, they assume that the good worker is viewed as the one who accepts orders but does not initiate actions. Man is primarily, if not exclusively, motivated by money. Therefore, maximum production comes if the pay is based on the amount produced. Increases in efficiency depend upon increasing the specialization of workers and managerial personnel also. There is a great belief in standardization, therefore, seek the best one or one best way to do a job. Design it, teach it, and see that it is followed. Right? So these are the assumptions that were made in scientific management. So accordingly, once I have given you this, you will be able to identify that option number 2 is the correct one. That the good worker is the one who accepts orders but does not initiate the actions. So 2 is correct. 1 is correct. That is application of scientific methods to organizational problem leads to efficiency. And number 4, each worker is interested to maximize his monetary reward. So this is correct. So accordingly, 1, 2, and 4 are correct. Next, moving on to question number 84. This is assertion and reasoning question. Assertion says, scientific management is also called the sociological organizational theory. Reasoning says scientific management is concerned with only that range of human behavior that relates to production. A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. A and R is true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. A is true, but R is false. A is false, but R is true, and both A and R are false. So we have this combinations where we are going to have a discussion. See, though some attempts were made earlier to study organizational problems, particularly in engineering problems, the real study in an organized way is recorded through the scientific management. Right? So, with this way of scientifically recorded, Taylor, Franken, Leon Gibbard, Henry Gant, and various other persons were also associated. They have investigated this various sorts of problems and investigated the effective use of human beings, industrial organizations, and also studied primarily the use of human beings as adjuncts to machines in the performance of routine tasks. The area of human behavior in organizations investigated by them is quite narrow, and the rise of human behavior in this approach encompasses primarily the psychological variables. As such, this is also referred to as sociological organizational theory. Next, coming to the scientific management group. The scientific management group has been most concerned with the kinds of tasks that are performed by on the production floor or at the operational levels. Now, these tasks are quite different from other tasks in the organization. Firstly, they are large, repetitive, so that the daily activity of an individual worker can be divided into large number of cyclic repetitions, one after the another, of essentially the same or closely related activities. Secondly, the tasks do not require complex problem-solving activity or requirement by those workers who handle them. Thus, more attention is required towards the standardization of working methods. That is what scientific management group has done. So accordingly, I can conclude that question number 84 answered to be 1. That is A and R are true, and R or reasoning is the correct explanation of the assertion. Okay, so 1 is the correct answer. Next, moving on to question number 85. Arrange the following experiments conducted by Elton Mayo in chronological order. Bank wiring experiment, textile mill experiment, illumination experiment, mass interviewing program. Right? So these are the series we have to actually mark them based on the occurrence. So in that case, let's start with the chronological order. Basically, in the early of 1920s, okay, and early of 1930s, the Harvard Business School, under the leadership of Elton Mayo and his associates, conducted research at the Hawthorne plant of the Western Electric Company. Now, his research marked a landmark in organizational theory. The experiments that he had conducted were in a chronological manner and they are as I'm going to discuss. Firstly, early experiment, that is textile mill experiment, which he had done in 1923. Now, before studies at the Harvard or at the Harvard University or the Harvard Thorn plant, Mayo undertook his first research in a textile mill, which came to be known as the first enquiry. Okay. Now, he started this research in a textile mill, which was near Philadelphia in 1923. Later on, he started the illumination experiment. Then he started the relay assembly test room experiment, which is from the year 1927 to 1928. Then he started mass interviewing program, 1928 to 1930. Then lastly, bank wiring observations room experiment, which is from 1931 up till 1930. So going by the sequence, we have 2 as the correct option, which is 2, 3, 4, and 1. Firstly, the textile mill. Then he had the illumination experiment. Then he had the mass interviewing. Lastly, the bank wiring experiment. So 2, 3, 4, and 1 is the correct chronological order. Moving on to question number 86. According to neoclassical theory, an organization is a structure with well-defined functions, a structure with well-defined objectives, a group of people with a common objective, or we have a structure with order and objective rationality, or none of this, which will be the correct answer. So moving on to this answer, what is neoclassical theory? So see, neoclassical theory for human relations theory was built, neoclassical is also called human relations theory, was built on the base of classical theory. Let's see, there were few assumptions that were made in this theory. Firstly, the psychological and social aspects of the worker as an individual and his group work ought to be emphasized. The organization can be defined as a group of persons with a common objective. That is, organization is a social system composed of various interacting parts. It is a group of people with a common objective. Within the organization, there exists an informal organization which interacts with each another. So accordingly, if I go by the question, see, it says, according to neoclassical theory, an organization is, I can say it's a group of people with a common objective. So that is the correct answer. It's a group of people with the common objectives. Next, moving on to question number 87. The term opportunity cost refers to variable cost, short-run cost, the cost foregone in favor of production of another product, cost related to an optimum level of production. Okay, this is what opportunity cost is being asked about. So basically, opportunity cost, the cost of an alternative that must be forgotten or foregone in order to pursue a certain action. Putting it in another way, the benefits you could have received by taking an alternative action. That is called opportunity cost, right? Or you can even say, let's mark this as option number 3, the cost foregone in favor of another production. Like for example, we have a particular amount of rupees, right? That is, for example, rupees 100. And with that rupees 100, we can either buy product A or product B. So if you are buying product A, we are sacrificing product B, right? Or if you are buying product B, we are sacrificing product A because our consumption amount is limited, money is limited. So then we are sacrificing one on the cost of the other, right? So that is called opportunity cost. Next, moving on to question number 88. Increasing returns imply contrast average cost, diminishing cost per unit of output, optimum use of capital and factor, external economies, or none of this. See, basically, increasing returns means that efficiency rises as production expands and thus costs fail. If that expands, then the cost will definitely fail. In this case, a drop in demand which lowers output leads to a reduction rather than an increase in efficiency. This then leads to higher costs and higher prices. These higher prices will naturally lead to a further reduction in demand. as a drop in demand sets in motion forces that lead to further decreases in demand and output. There is a self-reinforcement downward movement in the economic activity, right? So accordingly, we have option number 2 as the correct answer, that is diminishing cost per unit of output. Next, we come to question number 89. We have again a match the following, list 1 and list 2. So list 1 says principle of economics, diamond water paradox, value and capital, Asian drama, language of economics. And list 2 says Gunnar Myrdal, J.K. Galbraith, Alfred Marshall, John Hicks, Adam Smith, right? So principle of economics, let's go to the details of this discussion. Marshall began his economic work, that is the principle of economics, in the year 1881. Now, Alfred Marshall was the first to develop the standard supply and demand graph, which demonstrated a number of fundamentals regarding supply and demand, which included the supply and demand curves, market equilibrium, the relationship between quantity and the price in regards to supply and demand. Also, law of marginal unit and the ideas of consumer and producer surplus. Okay, so then I can say that A, that is a principle of economics. Principle of economics will be 3, right? Sorry, it's not. Yes, principle of economics will be Alfred Marshall, right? Principle of economics tallies with Alfred Marshall. Next, moving on to diamond water paradox. Okay, so see, diamond water paradox was contributed by Adam Smith. So coming to this details, see, the paradox of value, which was also called the diamond water paradox, was the apparent contradiction that although water is on the whole more useful in terms of survival than diamonds, diamonds demand a higher price in the market. So the philosopher, which was Adam Smith, is often considered to be the classic presenter of this paradox. So we have diamond water theory as Adam Smith. Next, moving to value and capital. Okay, so this was coined by value and capital, that is number C. This was coined by John Hicks. Okay, so let's see the details of it. See, John Hicks has written extensively on capital. In Value and Capital, 1946, the first edition, which was in 1939, he critically considered Baum Baruch's average period of production. So accordingly, we have John Hicks as the next answer. Next, coming to Asian drama, right? So Asian drama will be Gunnar Myrdal. Okay, Asian drama will be Gunnar Myrdal. Now, in 1968, 70-year-old Swedish economist Gunnar published Asian drama, an inquiry on the poverty of the nations. Okay, that was his inquiry. And last, we are left with language of economics, which is definitely J.K. Galbraith. J.K. or John Kenneth Galbraith was the author of the Language of Economics, and that was published in December of 1962. So accordingly, we have the fourth option as the correct one, 3, 5, 4, and 1. A, 3, B, 5, C, 4, D, 1. Next, moving on to question number 90. The central principle which derives from McGregor's theory Y is direction and control, coordination, scalar principle, integrations, or none of this. So basically, this will be integrations. Why? It will be integrations. See, the central principle of the organization, which derives from the theory X, is that the direction and control through exercise of authority, which has been called the scalar principle. This principle theory derives from theory Y, is that the integration, the creation of conditions such as the members of the organization can achieve their own goals best by directing their efforts towards the success of the enterprise. So that was the answer. So that was the answer to question number 90, integrations. And I have been discussing up till question number 90 in this part of the video. So do refer to the previous videos if you want the other questions to be explained. So I'll conclude my video here. I hope you have understood. Stay happy, stay safe, and thank you.